Hi, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Shirley, or you can just call me Link. In this video, I'm going to be going over the very basics of how I use the program Krita. If you're not familiar with Krita, it's an art program. If you're a little intimidated by using digital art or doing digital art, this might be a really good video for you. I'm going to just be going over the very basics. If you are interested in doing a more in-depth tutorial, there's way better videos out there than this one. This is just showing how I personally use the program. And if any of the stuff that I go over is kind of unclear, let me know. I am not a master at this program. Like I said, it's just the very bare bone basic stuff. All right, and let's go ahead and start. So I've got it on my laptop. You just want to start by downloading it if you don't have it, and then once you have it, you're just going to open it up. The reason why I keep it kind of basic, okay, well, we'll go back to that. So here, there's a couple things you can do. You can press new and just start fresh with a blank sheet of paper that you can use, change the size to any size that you want. Or you can do what I did here, and I'm going to open up my photo reference, and then I'm going to minimize it. Not completely, but partially. And then I'm going to expand it to fill half of the screen. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, exact same steps. I'm going to open up my photo reference. I didn't click on it there. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to, again, expand it to half of my screen. Okay. Right there, I basically, there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. You don't even have to delete the old picture. I just wanted the same size as the photo reference. So that's why I did it the way I did it. You don't have to do it that way. It just works for my brain. Okay, so here, another trick you can do is you can get like the paint bucket tool and dump it onto the blank canvas. This will make more sense as I go along. Right here, I have a couple different features. I have the paintbrush that's highlighted on the left-hand side. And then down here, I have different tools. I've got an airbrush. Here, I'm just picking a pencil that's thick. I expanded my brush to the maximum sizing, and I basically took the color white and filled in that canvas with a white background. You can do whatever background color you want. That little color wheel on the right hand top side, you can choose whatever color you need. I just chose white just because no real reason. Sometimes it's easier if you go with a tint. It will help with your values. So this little button on the left hand side that my cursor is pointing at and that I just clicked on, that is a dropper that allows you to get any color you want. So if I choose green over there, it's going to show up on the color wheel on the right side. If I choose gray, it's going to show gray in the color wheel. Brown. So it basically gives me whatever color is in my reference or even on the art that I'm working with. If I use that little dropper anywhere on the page, it'll give me that exact color match. If you were doing traditional art instead of using digital art, it would be like having a color checker or a value checker. It basically does the same thing, but digitally. I also have a paintbrush. So I pretty much only use the paintbrush and the little dropper that gives me the color changes. Those are the only two things that I use in Krita or in Photoshop in recent years. And the reason why is because I don't want to get into the habit of using like a stretch tool or an expansion tool or inverter tool or any of that thing. And then I can't do that in real life on a real canvas when I'm oil painting. So you're almost teaching yourself bad habits to get into when you use these programs. So keep that in mind. Just because you can do it digitally doesn't mean you can do it in the real world, obviously. And it might actually cause you more frustration when you go to paint a traditional painting. So if you're like me and you would way rather do traditional art than digital art, then you kind of want to keep it as basic as possible. Up here, I'm also showing in the top right-hand corner, I can switch between the color chart and also my viewfinder. And what my viewfinder allows me to do is zoom in anywhere on the reference or on the painting that I'm painting, and I can pull the photo any direction that I need to. Very convenient. I love that feature. Yeah, so there's that. And the color wheel too. You don't have to get your colors from the photo reference. If you click on the color wheel, you can select any color you want and use that color. There's no, there's so many different features on this program. You can probably spend a good long while just exploring all the different cool ways that you can play with this program. I have no idea what I'm doing right here. Sorry, guys. I think I was trying to show, because I'm voicing over after the fact because it's the only way I can do the recordings. Up there at the very top, the ones that I'm going back and forth on, I'm showing one of them is a size guide, and what that does is that allows you to make your pen or your whatever tool you're using any size that you need. So you can go up to super large or super small with that. And then the opacity is exactly what you think it would be. It's just the strength of whatever paint you're going to be using. So I love that because whenever I do any kind of oil painting, I usually start with just one color, and I always do like a very low opacity. Here I'm kind of showing you an example of how you can keep going down in the opacity level, and it goes lighter and lighter and lighter. And that changes if you're not familiar with opacity, I'm sure everybody is, but maybe you're not, maybe you're really young. It just has to do with, can you see through it? How much can you see through it? Is it opaque would be completely non-transparent. You couldn't see through it at all. And then transparent would be you can see through it a little bit. So that is a very clever tool that I use very frequently. Usually when I do, like all the videos that I posted recently about, well, all these little shorts that I've done recently showing how I draw in Krita. Basically, I'm only using one color, and I'm changing the opacity level, and I'm also changing the value. So I've talked about it a little bit before about values. If you're not familiar, values are just a shade range. From the very darkest value would be black, the very lightest value would be white. And everything in between are your value ranges. And so when I draw, there's two things that I do. I concentrate on shapes. I concentrate on negative space. And I concentrate on values. I don't worry about anything else. Did I say there's only 2 things that I use? There's 3 things that I use. Sorry, shapes, negative space, and values. Okay, so right here, I did something kind of stupid, and actually I probably should have mentioned it earlier. I'm drawing with the mouse. Now you can, obviously, you can use a mouse to draw with in these programs, but I don't recommend it. It's pretty hard. I guess if you didn't know any different and you got used to doing it, you can become pretty proficient at it. But for me, it's pretty hard. I realized about halfway through that that's what I was doing, drawing this top part of this hat, and I quickly went and got my Wacom tablet. What is a Wacom tablet? It's a drawing pad. You may have a computer where you can draw directly on your computer, or if you don't, you might want to look into a drawing pad like Wacom. It's spelled W-A-C-O-M. It's been around forever. The Wacom tablet that I have, I've had, oh gosh, probably a good 20 years now. And then I actually had one that was older than that too for a long time, and that one was good too. They're both good. I can't believe I still have the drivers for it, guys. I'm sorry, I don't have them. I can't believe they still make the drivers for Wacom, for the particular Wacom tablet that I have. It really helps. It's more comfortable. It actually feels like you're using a pencil or a brush. So it's way better. So basically what I'm doing right here, as you can see, I'm not necessarily drawing, not in the typical sense. I am paying attention to some structure, but for the most part, I am just looking at the shadow. If I were to squint my eyes and look at the photo reference, what would her outline be? So pretend like she's a silhouette, and basically that's what I'm doing, is I'm just creating some borders. I've talked about it a little bit before. I hate measuring. I don't use a grid. I have used a doodle grid once recently, and that was actually kind of fun. But I'm probably will never apply it to my regular art unless I do a mural. So basically, I'm looking at the space outside of her. What are those shapes telling me? What kind of information do I get from the negative space? So I'm looking at that, and I'm trying to just get a basic, very, very basic, it doesn't have to be perfect, outline of her figure, or her form, sorry. And I pretty much just do that for a while. I forget what else I wanted to say. So I'm just kind of going over again. I'm doing like almost little plumb lines. Some people, to me, this works just like a grid does. I like to do relational measurements. So what do I mean by relational measurements? Probably just exactly how it sounds. I look at the object that I'm trying to create, and I see the space that's near that object. So for instance, I'm looking at the shape of this hand, almost looks like a weird Y. So I'm just drawing a Y, and how I'm using I use the shapes next to it to kind of decide where I need to start and end the lines. And so some people say, well, you need to have like an anchor, something that's not going to be something that will be unchanging throughout the entire piece of artwork, that you can use as your initial guide point. Yes, that is true. That's very helpful. But at this stage of this particular drawing, because I didn't start with the features of the face, like some people will use a nose as an anchor, some people will use the eyes. I'm nowhere near there yet. I will get there, but I'm basically just what we call blocking in the shapes. And I'm not even concentrating on light and dark yet, my values. I'm just blocking in. I'm just trying to fill the space with as much information as I can near each other so that when I do zoom in, I have a fairly stable structure. It's kind of like the foundation of your house. You know, before you put the paint and the flooring in, you want to make sure that your house isn't going to fall down. So it's way easier to make corrections at the beginning of a painting than at the end. Duh, I know it's been said a ton of times, but it's true. So the more simple you can make something at the beginning, the easier it is all the way around. So I am measuring the negative space, where the rim of the hat starts and the end of the photo. It's kind of like this weird shape right here. So I'm looking at that, and I'm also looking at the distance from the edge of the hat to the wall of the end of the painting, I guess is the best way I can describe it. So I look at that, and if I can look at the negative space and feel pretty good about the layout, then that's awesome. All right, so I've barely added any kind of, I'm going to call it paint. It's not paint, but you'll get the idea. I've barely added any paint, and already it's starting to become a recognizable form. And, well, there's good reasons for that. One of the first things that we learn when we're children, or even babies, is how to make sense of the shapes and shadows and light around us. And so really with very little information, we can make something look familiar or even recognizable, or I'm sorry, those are the same words, but you get what I'm saying. Like, the likeness is almost already there, and I haven't even done any detail, any features, nothing, but already you can see that the image that I'm creating is going in the direction that it needs to go. That's pretty cool. Little bit of a backstory while I'm still measuring. Oh, actually right here, I think I talk about the angle of this hat, so I'm going to talk about that first. My angle is going kind of at a slant. This angle is going more upright. So that's one of those corrections that I try to make early on. Am I going to get everything right out from the start? No. There's like a push and pull that happens when you create, when you do a painting or a drawing of any kind, where you're kind of trying to figure out, do I need to make this larger or do I need to make this smaller? So that's what I mean by push and pull. Yeah, anyway. So going back to recognizing shapes. Well, so I know I've said this before, but in case y'all are new here, for many, many, many years, I used to draw and paint primarily out of my own head. And I loved it. It was a lot of fun. But my art became kind of stagnant. I guess that's the best way that I can describe it. Like, I could tell I hit a point where I was no longer creating my art. My ideas were getting better, but my art was not improving. And there's a reason for that. I mean, there's benefits to being able to draw out of your head. It gives you immense an immense sense of creativity. That's the benefit of it. You also don't ever run out of ideas because you're so used to, sorry, your brain is so used to working that way. But the problem with that is that, like I said, I kind of hit a point where it just felt like I was no longer learning, I guess is the best way I can put it. So, and it was kind of intimidating for a while there because I was like, okay, I want to get better at art. I want to definitely get better at portraits. But I think in some way I was a little bit nervous because I think I had like a crutch for a while there where I was thinking, if I draw from photos, if I start using photo reference, I'm going to lose my ability to just flow with art and create on the fly, and I really didn't want that. So see, I'm still doing some measuring right there. Sorry, guys. So I didn't want to lose that sense of creative flow, I guess is the best way I can say it. But I just decided, you know what, if I want to keep growing as an artist, I'm going to have to be willing to branch out and try new stuff. And I always wanted to learn how to do portraits, and I always kind of sucked at capturing likenesses of people. Even when I was a caricature, I was a caricature artist. If you're new to my channel, you don't know that, but I was a caricature artist for about 10 years. And I loved it, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. But I didn't capture the likeness of people as much as my coworkers did. They were spot on. I mean, like, there was no denying that they got it. And whereas I think people, I did do pretty caricatures, I guess is the best way to describe it. People were always happy with the way mine came out because they were flattering and they were fun and they had a good time. But the likeness was, it was all right. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't that good. But so anyway, I realized that was, I had an issue. Like there was some kind of block, mental block, where I couldn't capture somebody's likeness. Well, I really just started putting in the work, guys. I guess that's the best way I can say it. If you practice something long enough, you're gonna figure out things that work for you and things that don't. And things are gonna start clicking and other things aren't, you know, and I think I was initially kind of approaching it weird. I was trying to do it like structured drawing. I was trying to do it very rigid and structured. And every time I did that, I would just fail miserably. It's like my brain just said, nope, this isn't working. And then one day, I think it was another YouTube artist. I watch a lot of other artists too, guys. If you're going to get better at art, you got to watch other artists. They're so inspiring. And I mean, obviously, if you're here and you're an artist, maybe you already are, you know what I'm talking about. But so forgive me, I'm not trying to, you know, uh, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you get it. But but I think it was Miriam. Oh gosh, I'm so bad at names. I think it was Miriam. I think I was watching one of her videos. Um, I'll try to remember to link it, but if I don't, just look up Miriam. She's amazing. Oh, she's so amazing. But I think I was watching one of her videos, and I realized that even though I still paint very different than her, there was something that she does that I do that clicked. I guess that's all that it takes. She wasn't worried about how it looks from the start. Just like me, she just kind of decided she was going to only concentrate, she wasn't going to worry about detail. She was just going to worry about values and shapes. And for me, as soon as she said that, my brain just was like, oh yeah, duh. I mean, I do that with my stuff I draw out of my head. Why would it be any different for portraiture? It was almost like I was overthinking portraits. I was trying so hard to get the likeness that I was missing what makes something a likeness. And so anyway, I am still at this point, I'm just doing. Okay, so now on the painting, I am starting to get in there and I'm starting to check my values. So I'm still doing a bit of shape stuff, but mostly I'm doing value stuff at this point. I'm kind of, well, not yet, but when I start putting in the eyes, you'll see what I mean. So fun thing to know, detail's not important. It's just not the most important thing. Don't worry about details at all in the beginning of a painting or drawing of any kind. Concentrate primarily on the shape of things and also the values, so the light and the dark. If you do just those two things, your artwork, you're gonna get a likeness on anybody that you paint. It will just automatically happen, because instead of approaching it like I'm thinking about painting this person, your brain is going, is it dark there or is it light there? And then you put the dark or the light there. Is it bigger or is it smaller? And then you make it bigger or smaller. It's so much simpler. It's really that simple. It's that's all it is. Now I know not everything works the same way for everybody. So the way I am showing you how to do this may not resonate with you and it may not click with you. But there might be other people out there that are like, oh, okay, I get it. It's not a magic trick. It's just, paying attention to the most simple stuff and then building on that simple stuff as you go. And so it's pretty neat. But I don't know. I really hope that I don't ramble too much or go too slow. I wasn't sure. I'm still looking, by the way, I'm still looking at the negative space and just comparing it to the negative space in my own picture, just so you know. No, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a fine line between wanting to show you guys how I go about a painting and also not wanting to be confusing or I don't know, or guys, I suck at this. I am so much better at pictures than words. So fill in the blanks. I don't know what else to say. It's I'm trying. So here I'm again I noticed that mine was at a weird angle. It's amazing how much just a slight change of an angle can make something look so weird. So that's another thing that I would say maybe practice is just making sure you get the tilt or the angle of things correct. Okay, here's the other thing too I want you guys to see. I did the finger too big, so I shortened it. Um, I go in and I'm trying to block in where I think the eye and the eyebrow should go. I realized that I didn't give enough room there for the forehead. So then I go back eventually and adjust for that. Um, when I'm blocking in the face, I typically will just do um, oh gosh, what is it? A dark shadow right there in the socket. And I usually do that on both eyes. I very rarely will separate the eyebrow from the eye. I do it here for a little bit on the eye that you see on the right side, where I separate the eyebrow from the eye as far as the blocking goes. But that's rare. Normally when I block in the eyes, I will just completely do a darker color and lay it down, and then I will build on top. I'll bring the lights back out. And there's a reason for that. That's the way our skulls are. So it makes sense to do it that way. It also gives you some wiggle room, and it's also easier. I mean, for me, it's way easier to use big blobs of shadow and light than it is for me to draw real thin structured lines. Again, that might just be a me thing. Everybody's so different with the way that they like to draw. But for me, it's just way easier just to do big blobs. So I'm trying to get the distance between the cheek and the nose there. I don't care at all if this is at all perfect. So when you're first starting a painting at the beginning, don't aim for perfection. Or at least I don't aim for perfection. You can do whatever you want, but I definitely don't. Okay, so the reason why I use the big blobs for the eyes, and I did mention that it's the way our skulls are in our head. Our eye sockets are usually concaved a bit. Now, if you have large eyes, like I do, or like the lady in the picture does, you do see a bit of, well, everybody's eyes does this to a certain degree, where there's a ball right there sitting in the socket. So you are going to have some value changes there where it's going to become lighter because of that. Not just because of the color, but also because of the way the object is structured. So like think of it like an egg. An egg is white in color, but it also has shape. It's got form. So where the egg curves is where you're going to see the form curve. So you would have to add darker values on that curve in order for it to appear more like an egg. Now, obviously, I don't know who will be watching this, so you might be a very experienced artist and know all this stuff already, or you could be a brand spanking new artist who's never painted a day in their life and would like to try it. This is another great way or inexpensive way to try art, because the program is free. Now, granted, you would have to either use your mouse to draw, or you would have to buy a Wacom tablet. But, you know, this is a great way to try art for the first time. Okay, so I deleted some of my background lines. By the way, guys, I end up speeding up the video at this point because I was drawing this girl for 5 hours. Now, I will say this. I wasn't drawing her for 5 hours straight. I did get up to have lunch. In fact, I tried to go mow my lawn, but it rained again. So thank you, Jesus. I didn't have to mow my lawn today. My dad, if he's watching, he's probably laughing. I've tried to mow my lawn every day I've been off from work for the past month. And every single time I've had a day off and I've been available at home, it's rained. My yard is starting to look like the Amazon. But anyway, it's okay. Sorry, guys. I've got some major ADHD problems, I guess. I don't call it, it's just artist brain. What are you gonna do? I got artist brain. I see something shiny and then I go off topic. Okay, so right here, I realize that I'm expanding. I'm at a point now in the sketch that I'm feeling confident enough with the drawing, even though it looks like a train wreck. I'm feeling confident enough that I want to blow up the image on both images so that I can start really mapping out the value range. And I do that. I'm gonna pick a darker color in a minute here, because right now I'm kind of still in the mid-tone range. So I'm gonna go with a little bit of a darker color. If I was oil painting, this would be the very next day after laying down the initial color. And then I would go back through with, like, I usually do a cadmium yellow to lay down my first rough draft, and then I go back through with, I think, burnt sienna for the part that I'm doing right here, the darker shade. But since we're in the digital world, we can do whatever color. Well, you could do whatever color you want in oil painting too, but I don't know. I'm not using cadmium yellow. I don't know. Guys, stuff just comes together the way it comes together with art sometimes. You just decide to do whatever color you want to do that day. I have more of a system with colors when I'm oil painting, I think, because it works for me, and I have plenty of cad yellow and I have plenty of burnt sienna, and they're both kind of fast drying, and so they make for really good underpainting. Okay, the biggest difference between this digital stage and the oil painting, of course, is the dry time, but also there's a little bit different in technique. I do the same kind of thing with oils as far as the image being drawn is, but the layers are structured different. So maybe I'll do another video on how I start an oil painting again. I kind of did that when I talked about the Danya painting that I had done, but maybe I'll do a new one. I don't know. Let me know if you guys want me to do a better tutorial on how I go about oil painting. I can do that. Okay, so here I'm pushing and pulling. I'm starting to find the little nuance in light and dark changes. So wherever I am seeing things that I need to clean up. Sorry, that was my water bottle. Wherever I see things that I need to clean up, I'm going to reinforce what I want to keep, and I'm going to change the things that I don't want to keep. And I pretty much do that for, oh gosh, the next 20 minutes of filming, I think. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm fixing some of the structure. Note, the other thing I wanted to say is I don't really draw very much anymore. I mean, I use chunky blobs. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. I go in and it's almost like sculpting a little bit. Like if this was a sculpture of clay, that's how I paint. And you know what's funny is I don't think I've tried sculpture ever. Maybe I did in school. I don't remember though. But yeah, but that's how I paint. Like I literally, I add things on, I take things away, and I do that constantly until I get the shape that I want. So it's less about doing a hard line, like you would in a pencil drawing or whatever, and it's more about, um, I don't know, adding and removing. I guess I do a little bit of drawing, but not much. Yeah, I don't know. So I know Watercolor by McCraw. She's the one that requested this video, and I'm so grateful for her. She's another one of those YouTubers that that deserves some flowers, because she's very kind and very knowledgeable, and not just in paint. She's got wisdom, and I respect people like that. And she's a fellow Christian. If you guys don't know, I am a Christian. Um, we live in such a weird time where I even feel like I need to say that, because I can remember a time when it was like just assumed and not even a big deal, if somebody was a Christian or wasn't. You know, it was just not ever that big of a thing. But the closer, uh, well, the more that time has moved on, it seems that people, they get in their feelings about things, um, pretty passionately these days, including me. I mean, I'm not trying to say that I'm above that. I'm not. I am very passionate about my walk with God, and very serious about it. And, you know, but I feel like um, it's so weird. People have so many misconceptions. I didn't grow up religious. I was very lucky in that way. I only say lucky because I don't have hang-ups the way a lot of people have hang-ups, you know? There's so many people I meet that are just so disgusted with religion because they've had such a terrible experience, um, with their upbringing or their church or their family member or whatever the case may be. And you know, I don't see it that way because, well, probably because I'm blessed. I didn't grow up that way, but I also recognize that I don't follow a religion. I follow God. And that's the biggest difference. When we follow other people, you're going to be disappointed. I don't care who the person is. Even if you're secular and you're not religious at all, if you're idolizing a person and you're following that person, you will be let down. Just know that. You will. And it's not because they're bad or you're, you know, whatever, bad, or they're good or you're not good. It's because we're people. And we have a tendency to mess up because we're so imperfect. And, you know, I love Jesus because he's my anchor and my rock, because he is perfect in his ways. And I think it's important for us to have an example of somebody that is perfect. Um, Even if you could never possibly live up to that expectation, I don't see it as oh no, I'll never live up to that, so might as well just be whatever, do bad stuff. That seems stupid to me, honestly. I think to admire someone means that you find them admirable. And the reason why you find them that way is because typically they're doing something uh, that has to do with strength or courage or wisdom or hope. And those are all things that Jesus is. So if I'm going to follow anybody as an example of how I should be, I'm going to follow the one that did it right. And it's really that simple. Just like my art, it's really that simple. Um, and again, I don't know. I know everybody, I know everybody has challenges. I know everybody has their demons that they have to face. I'm not perfect at all. I've never been perfect. In fact, anybody that knows me, especially my family, uh, they know I have an extremely checkered past. Um, I did everything wrong before I did it right. And I think that that's kind of most of us that are Christian. I think most of us that call ourselves Christian, unless you were brought up in the faith and you were, there are people like that too, where they just grew up in the faith. They've always known Jesus and they were blessed that way, and they stayed with him. And that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. But most of us that have found Jesus, uh, we were not perfect people. We did all kinds of wrong. And honestly, in some ways, I feel like that's why those testimonies are so insanely good, because you know that uh, you remember a time in your life before God, and you know a time after, and the difference is day and night. And again, if you're following a person, like say you just found Jesus, just started reading the Bible, and then your church starts doing all kinds of wacky things, well, God doesn't want us to be stupid, guys. He gave us a brain. He wants us to use it. And he wants us to use discernment. And if we don't have discernment, he wants us to pray for discernment. And don't just blindly follow anybody who says they're a Christian. And don't just blindly follow any faith who says that they're the one. And do your homework. And the best way to do your homework is just by reading the Bible. If you are a follower of Christ and you came to Jesus because you love him, read the Bible. The Bible will tell you everything you need to know. You don't have to. There's so many doomsday things out there today too. There's so many people that are like, oh, the world's going to end, so who cares what happens now? And that's the wrong way to live. God doesn't want us to live that way. He gave us a time on this earth for a purpose, and until he takes us home, we need to live like every day is a blessing. So don't buy into that whole world's going to end tomorrow, so as long as I'm saved, I don't care what else happens. That's not healthy. Um, that's not healthy. Just give thanks, be grateful, pray every day that he blesses you with discernment and that you um oh, sorry, I'm losing my thoughts. I'm trying to explain something deep, and it's sometimes when that happens, the words don't come out right. But I guess the best way I'm trying to say it is like, if you want to know God, just read the Bible. Preachers are there to help give you guidance from what you just read in your Bible, and that's great if you have a good Bible um, preaching uh, a good Bible read teacher. That's awesome. He can really help you with that. He can help you with counseling. He can help you with direction. But if you're in a situation where that's the only information that you're getting, you're going to be asking for it. You need to read the Bible every day, learn from God's word. And if you do that, you're not going to have any issues. It's going to be fine, you know? Okay, sorry guys. I didn't mean to go on a tangent there, but, you know, sometimes stuff gets put on your heart and you have to say it. I know my dad is listening right now and he's probably just rolling his eyes. I love you, Dad. I'll pray for you. So yeah, I grew up pretty secular. I was going to say, so see how it's starting to really take shape. It still doesn't look like her yet, but it's starting to get there. And really, I haven't done much of anything except for just add some shadows, some highlights. Every once in a while, I'll adjust the opacity level, or I will adjust the size of the tool that I'm using. Let's see, what else? Oh boy. So how did I get into art? Okay, I can't remember a time. I'm just talking about random stuff while this is going on. If you stick around to listen and watch, cool. I cannot remember a time when I didn't paint or draw. I think I was probably about 3 years old the first time I really remember drawing something, and I can remember it was a teepee and a horse. I drew the horse behind the teepee. Very southwesterny. Oh, I grew up mostly in the desert of the Southwest. I was a military brat. We moved around a lot. So you're gonna get to know me a little bit in this, maybe. My dad was 22 years in the Navy, so we moved around a bit when I was young. But he retired pretty early on, and I know my mom very well. She's a wonderful and kind soul, but I didn't grow up with her. Well, I did grow up with her. I wasn't raised by her, I guess is the best way I can say it, which I think is kind of, well, it was a blessing. My mom is a beautiful lady. She's wonderful, but she's also an artist. And sometimes with artists, you get some of the weird side too. And I'm not just talking normal weird, I'm talking real weird. And so she struggled with a bunch of stuff. And she's wonderful and she's doing well. But I'm grateful that I was raised by my dad. My dad had a lot of structure, and now my dad would probably say that he didn't raise me, that my brother and I raised each other. And I would say there's truth to that. We were very, very blessed. I think we had so much fun when we were growing up. I won't go into all the fun that we had, because that's part of my past, but we had a lot of fun. Um, let's see. I do, now there were occasions when I would spend time with my mom, and some of those occasions she would take me to art lessons with her, or um, sometimes I did some modeling for artists when I was younger. Not because I'm like all attractive or anything like that, but just because it's different with art. You can be a model in art and not be a model, you know. Um, I learned a lot from those experiences. And I think in some ways the reason why I love to paint, um, or wanted to paint when I was younger, is I think in some weird way it was kind of like a way that I could be close with my mom, and have that feeling of that relationship. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a psychologist. uh, uh, and honestly, guys, I don't really care. It's not that big of a deal to me. I just like doing it. I like painting. I like drawing. Um, I am pretty proficient in the airbrush, but I haven't had one for a long time. I've talked about that before too. I need to buy another airbrush. Maybe I will. I primarily like to oil paint. There's nothing like it to me. I love the way everything feels. Like you can feel how the brush goes on the canvas. Um, it feels right. I guess, I know that's stupid, but it's true. It just, I like the way it glides over the surface of the canvas. And I love the effect that you get. Okay, so see how just adding just a very little bit of shadow and highlight is making the picture come to life. And I'm doing very, very little actual drawing. I'm just finding those light sources and dark sources. And I know I keep saying that every 10 minutes or so, but it never gets old to me to see how that affects how the image looks and how it changes it. Um, yeah, I just, I like that. Um, hmm. Portraiture is amazing. I really want to learn how to do, now that I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of portraits, I would not consider myself a master artist by any means. I feel like I'm going to always be a student. Um, I love that. I feel like it makes me, it keeps me interested in art. I think if I mastered it, I think I would be pretty bored. Maybe that's what happened with Da Vinci. Like maybe he got so dang good at art that he just got completely bored with it and then started doing all his invention stuff and was like, no, I do inventions. I don't want to be known as an oil painter. And I think that probably happened to him because he was just so dang good. Um, but I don't think I'll ever get that way. There's always something new that I can learn. Uh, I was talking about Watercolor by McCraw, the young lady that is a YouTuber. Um, I was talking about her earlier and then I went on some weird kind of tangent. I'm sorry, let me bring it back around. She inspired me to do this. I didn't even think about showing how I do digital art until she brought it up. And then I was like, hey, that's actually a pretty good idea. I don't know why. Sometimes I just assume people know how to do stuff that I know how to do. And it's so weird. When I say that out loud, that just seems so ridiculous. But uh, I don't know. It seems like that's the case sometimes. But she she does watercolor, and I am just fascinated by watercolor. I have tried it. It's not for me. I love it. I think it's beautiful, but I will never be a watercolor artist. I've tried it probably a good enough amount of times to know that it's not what I want to do. Okay, so just now I used the dropper tool to pick up the color on the actual photo. So I'm doing this different than how I normally do these sketches. Normally I just stick with the one color and do various shades. In fact, that's how I've done all the shorts that I have done recently. But I realized since I had the opportunity to show you Krita, I thought maybe it would be kind of fun to show you how neat it is as a tool. So you can do your dropper, pick whatever color on the photo, and then go back to your picture and fill in the areas. So you're almost doing a one-for-one comparison, but it's just color. And so that's one thing that you do get out of, you're going to get out of this that I didn't do on any of the other quick sketches that I've uploaded recently in Krita in the shorts. So there's value, there's shape, there's angle, there's value, there's negative space. And we've talked about all four of those. Well, there's also a fifth thing, and that's temperature. So to make something look realistic, not that I'm not going for photorealism. I'm not. But I am trying to improve my art. And one way of trying to improve your art is by really paying attention to the reference that you're using. So when I do this one-for-one comparison, you really see the temperature changes, not just the value changes. So what do I mean by temperature? Okay, so on the color scale, you can have a very low chroma or a very high chroma. And chroma is just color. So if you have a low chroma, you're closer to like your gray tones. So it might be a pink, but it might be a grayish pink, if that makes sense. And there's probably way better videos out there that explain this. In fact, I know there is. I'm doing the best I can. I'm not one for words. So just work with me for a minute here. But the higher the chroma, the stronger the color is, the more pigmented it is, and the deeper the temperature is. So right here on the hand, I'm doing a very high temperature or a high chroma in this area. And when you contrast it with the very dark, like almost black on the photo, it kind of adds such depth and such value and such realism. And actually, if you contrast it with the lightness of the cheek versus the chroma, the deep orangey red chromas of the finger, it adds a whole nother level of interest and realism to your art. Do you want to do only a deep chroma painting? No. You can. In fact, flowers, a lot of times flowers are super high in chroma, like almost ridiculously so. But I try, even when I'm doing flowers, I try to balance some of the areas in the flower with a little bit of a less chroma. So you can see right in certain areas on the hand, I'm trying to do the lighter peacher colors, less chroma. And so that's what gives it its depth and kind of adds more of a realistic feel to whatever painting you're doing. Um, yeah. So I'm basically going toe to toe. And I do end up, I hope I do, I think I do, end up speeding up this drawing. So that way you're not watching 5 hours of me draw or talk. Um, but uh yeah, guys, I had to speed it up. It would be way too long of a video. And I think at this point you guys can kind of see what I'm doing and kind of how I'm showing that it's done. Um, anyway, I keep doing this. Um, so watercolor by McCraw. I was talking about her and then I did it again where I went off topic. She's a fantastic watercolor artist. Uh, very inspiring. I love her use of color. It's so beautiful. Um, yeah, it's really beautiful. And she is a new artist. She just started um during COVID is what I think she said. But it's weird because she's a perfect example, and actually Miriam, the one that kind of helped me figure out um what I needed to do to make the connection with getting uh, a likeness on a painting. She, I think, started painting a lot during COVID too. Although I think Miriam was an artist beforehand, because I know she's talked about going to art school. So I don't know. But I only say that to say that it doesn't matter if you are a lifelong artist like me or if you just started today. Um, some people just pick it up and they they completely understand it. They just get it and they improve so rapidly. And then there's other people like me who have been drawing my entire life, and you would think I would be like a Da Vinci type person, but I'm not. I I still have a long way to go, and I feel like I'm starting to really get there. Within this past year, I feel like every painting I do, every drawing I do, I can see where um, I'm making big leaps in progress. And that's a really good feeling, honestly, because it's like I said, it's been years and years since I've had that. But it's amazing to me that, just like anything else, some people just get it. Um, it clicks and they just do it right away and everything comes together. And then um, for some of us, it's not like that. Now, I will say this. I used to believe uh, that art talent was strictly God-given. And well, I still believe that, but I don't believe it in the same way. So let me explain. I used to believe that there was such a thing as a God-given talent, meaning it was natural for them. I don't necessarily believe that anymore. I believe that God does give us talent and he does give us gifts. But um, I also think that you just have to put the work in. So you might have the gift of wanting to be an artist, and that was me. I love painting, I love drawing. I've always loved it. I would always way rather be painting or drawing than doing anything else. I mean, I could do it every day for the rest of my life and not ever get tired of it. I know that's true because I did it every day for 10 years and I didn't ever burn out. Um, Did I have days where it felt like I didn't do as good of a job? Yeah, for sure. But did I ever wake up and go, I just don't feel like drawing? Nope, it's never happened. I always feel like drawing. Um, so I believe that part of it is a gift from God. That drive, that motivation that makes me want to do it every day, that's definitely God given. Now, my skill level, no. That's a people thing. And um it's just like anything people do. If you do it enough, if you work at it enough, you're going to get better at it, you know. So I would just suggest that if you are new to art, and I don't care what age you are, um, just put in the time. You know, if it's something that you really want, put in the time. You're going to improve. And even if you're somebody like me who's been drawing their whole life and it's just barely now starting to figure it out, you know, good for you. I think that's great. Stick it out. If you love it, just do it. Um, yeah. Oh, I did want to mention, if you are still watching this entire video, uh, I I don't finish it. Um, I get pretty far in the rendering, but I don't finish it. And the reason why is because I had been working on it for like 5 hours, and it was time to take a break and make dinner and um, do other things, clean. I needed to clean my house. There's other things I had to do. So that's important. Also, my husband wasn't feeling very well. So I stopped working on it for a time, so that way, well, I stopped working on it and completely uh, because he wasn't doing so good. Um, I don't know if I should talk about this here yet or not. It seems so weird. Um, so probably y'all are gonna find out eventually anyway, just from talking to me. The more I do things and the more I paint, and um, if I'm blessed enough to be able to do a live stream with Mello, he's another YouTube artist. He's awesome. I would love to do one with watercolor by McCraw. Her name's Tamara. I think it's Tamara. Oh God, please let it be Tamara. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name. Is it Tamara or Tamira? Oh man, guys, I am the worst person in the world with names. I'm really bad at it. I admire her so much too. Oh, please don't hate me. Anyway, and then Mello. I would love to paint with either one of them. I would love to do a live with them. I know that she was having issues with her audio, and I'm not even sure how I would be able to do it because I currently am using my son's microphone in his room just to do the voicing for this. I don't really have the setup for it, guys. I live in a house, but it's a smaller house, and my dining room is basically my art studio. So it's kind of, you know, and I live with my husband and my son lives here too. And so it's kind of like usually a noisy household. And so I don't know how I would find that time to, or find a way to do it, but I would love to do it. I love painting with other artists. I think it's the best thing ever. But a little bit of a story, or life share, I guess. Um, I don't know if I'm oversharing or not. I don't know. Um, so my husband wasn't feeling well today, and he has days like that, guys. For those of you that don't know me, my husband has Parkinson's, And he was diagnosed with it in, I think it was right before COVID. It was in 2019. Um, anyway, I noticed he was having symptoms pretty early on. I would say when he was about 38, he wasn't walking right. And I think even my brother had mentioned at the time that he thought Jimmy was walking weird. My husband's name is Jimmy. Yeah, he said he's not walking right, and I noticed that too. And then the other thing that I noticed was he wasn't able to write with his right hand anymore very good. His writing came out really small, and he was just struggling to write his name. And I remember him even saying, like, I've been using my left hand more and more to do things because I'm having a really hard time um, using my right hand. So, anyway, if you did stick it out, then this is a part of my life that I'm not ashamed to share, and I think that it's important for me to share it. Um, I've thought about it before. I prayed about it, whether or not I wanted to get so personal with my family life. But I think the reason why I want to share it is because um, I think it'll lead to maybe more understanding of people that have Parkinson's, but maybe you have questions or maybe you don't. And I think it's totally healthy to talk about it. And the other thing too is that um, there's going to be times where I don't go online for maybe weeks or possibly even months, and there might be health reasons for that, or family reasons for that. So that's important, and it's also important if I end up doing any live streams with the artists that I admire, that they know, because if I'm in the middle of a live stream and my husband uh, needs help with something, I want them to know that I need to be able to walk away, and I don't want it to come off as like I'm being a jerk, like I might have to end the live stream or uh, leave for a while. I don't know. Um, yeah, it's just one of those things, but he does really, really well. He has good days and bad days, and today was a bad day. He got really sick, and um, illness and things like that affect him way more than they used to. He's basically, his immune system is compromised, so he he ends up with stuff like that. But anyway, so yeah, so he got diagnosed 2019. She started showing symptoms probably about 5 years before that. So he's probably had it now for over 10 years. And, you know, it's it's one of those things that it's almost like it's such a slow progression that in some ways you grow with the person. Like you kind of get used to some of the stuff, and so it's not such a weird or harsh transition. It's not like a illness that takes you right away. It's very slow. It's very slow, and then it's all of a sudden. I guess is the best way I can describe it. Like there will come a time when it gets really bad. Um, but I God is good. And some people might be like, "Oh, that's why she's a Christian now." Or maybe that's why she's so Christian now. And I will say there's some truth to that, guys. There's some truth to that. I have never needed God more in my life than I do now. But I've also never been so happy in my life than I am now. Uh, I feel, like I said before, I feel incredibly blessed. I have such a great family, such a loving family. My dad has been such a great support in my life, and Jimmy's dad, and you know, my husband is the oldest of 8 siblings. He so he's he's no pushover. Um, he's very strong. I don't know how he does it sometimes, but he's awesome. And uh, I just I've married such a wonderful person that it's so strange. So I feel like here's another God thing, guys. Um, God gives you what you can handle, and He also prepares you for your future. I grew up with my dad and my brother. Um, Even though I'm a super girly girl, I am also was kind of a tomboy when I was younger. Um, but only for a very short time. Actually, I've always been kind of girly too, way girly. But God blessed me with 2 very strong men in my life to make me strong and independent in some ways, because I know how to do a lot of stuff that uh, probably a lot of ladies don't know how to do. And what a gift that is, because look at my situation now. I'm married to a wonderful man who's a manly man and great, but there's a lot of things he can't do anymore that sometimes he needs my help with. And what a blessing it is that I have the upbringing and the knowledge to understand a lot of the stuff that he needs doing. Or I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the best way. Now, my husband would probably laugh because um, the only thing I like to do is art. Sometimes when you're younger, you go through things and you think, oh, I don't know, you think all kinds of stuff, but mostly like woe is me kind of feeling. And then you get older, and if you really have discernment and you really have grown, you recognize that those things you went through were kind of a blessing, and uh, they help shape you, and they turn you into the kind of person that you want to be, and or that has, well, it's the best way I can describe it is everything you go through prepares you for something else that you're going to need to know in life. And that's the way I see it. Um, and so far, I've loved every single age I've ever been. I have done so many cool things, guys, and some not so cool things, um, but mostly, I've had so much fun in my entire life. And my husband has had a ton of fun in his life. He did it all too. He was a biker and uh, worked on motorcycles, and he knows. My husband is so dang smart, guys. I don't even know. I'm just gonna gush on him for a minute here. He There's very few things. There's very little things he doesn't know how to do. He has one of those engineer minds that just understands the way things work, and um and he just does it. I think sometimes with really smart people, it's difficult for them because I feel like they think everybody else is just as smart as them. And that's totally not the case. I'm an idiot with most things. But it's so fascinating because I can bring up something, any topic to him, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, there's, that's how rockets are made," or like he just, I don't even know how he has time to know all this stuff, but he just does. And he's not just a talker or a reader. He's always been a doer. And I think that that's part of the reason why Parkinson's is so hard for him, because he's always been super active. And so it kind of forces you to slow down and um, do things different. And it's definitely forced him to slow down. Um, but we still do a lot of cool stuff. So, and we still enjoy life immensely. And every day's an adventure. So there you go. So now you guys know a little bit more about myself than you did before. So fairly soon here, I'm going to be, well, I speed up the video quite a bit, which is a blessing. This was a way long video. Actually, it's funny because we just did the art, oh gosh, I just did the thing through my church where I donated some time and did some lessons with some of the local youth out here in my town. And it was so much fun, you guys. It was so much fun. For those of you that are new or don't know, um, I was asked by the people at my church if I could give some art lessons for free to some of the kids that go to the high school out here in my town. And kind of like just give them something to do. I live in a really small town now, and I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I've lived in big cities pretty much my whole life, and the peace that I have here is just ridiculous. It's so good. But anyway, I I did some volunteer work and basically did an art class for 24 teens, and I think there were like 7 adults. Um, I don't think there was more than that, but maybe there was. I don't know. But it was ridiculously fun. Uh, the kids were just cracking me up, and uh, it was mostly the high school football team, which was hilarious. Um, and I don't know if they were there because girls were there or if the girls were there because the boys were there, but it was fun. And I'm so happy that they had a break uh, from any awful stuff in their lives or any distractions. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun. And I can't wait to do it again. They've already asked if I can do this more, or the teens actually asked if they were gonna have this on a regular, and so we're gonna try to do it quarterly if we can. But wow, it was great. The other thing, what's the other thing that I wanted to talk about? I could probably spend weeks rendering this. But again, I'm not going for photorealism. That's not my aim. This is just kind of a study to not only show you guys how I paint um, in Krita, but also it's pretty similar to how I paint in with oils. It's actually very similar to that. Um, yeah, I can already see in the face like areas that I would render if I was still working on it. And I think that that's kind of the way all artists are. Our work is never really completely done. We just kind of decide that we're gonna walk away from it. Um, that's usually what happens. Even the most recent picture that I did of Jesus, oh man, I could have spent way more time rendering that. But again, it was something that I had worked on for like 5 hours. And that's usually a pretty good stopping point for me. If I'm oil painting, sometimes I really lose track of time with oil painting, and sometimes I can paint for like 8 hours and not realize it. I think that's kind of common with artists. I don't know. But with digital art, there's only so much sitting I can do. So when I'm oil painting, I'm standing. I go in between sitting and standing, and I walk away from the painting, and then I step forward, and I walk away and I step forward. I also wanted to add with art, 90% of it is observation. You spend a lot of time just staring at your reference and just staring at your own painting. So yeah, I know it seems like it just comes together so quickly. Obviously now, after watching this video, you probably realize that it doesn't. This picture's gonna kind of end weird because I don't finish her. Well, it would be her left arm, but it would be on our right viewpoint. I don't finish that arm. I don't even draw it in. I think it's just clothes and no arm. But it was a practice piece, guys. It's just for fun. Thanks, guys, for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys all have a wonderful night. Thank you again if you took the time to listen to me talk this entire time. I hope I didn't forget anything. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.